Dati aliens summoned aid. Deathworlders delivered. Total destruction. The Galactic Council chamber fell silent as Ambassador Zixathara of the Valanian Consortium stepped forward, her crystalline form shimmering with desperate energy. The massive dome-shaped hall contained representatives from 47 different species, each more advanced than the last, yet none had a solution to their current crisis. "Honored council members," Zixathara began, her voice carrying through the translation matrix that allowed all species to understand each other. "The Devourer fleet has consumed 17 star systems in the past lunar cycle. Our combined fleets cannot match their technological superiority or their ruthless efficiency." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the assembly. The Devourers had appeared from the void between galaxies, their ships like massive black holes that consumed everything in their path. Planets, stars, entire civilizations. Nothing survived their advance. Their technology was beyond anything the Council had encountered in their 20,000 years of galactic cooperation. Commander Thekmol of the warrior caste of Rigel Prime slammed his four-armed form against his speaking podium. "We have thrown our mightiest fleets against them. The Battle of Kepler's Gate saw 300 of our finest warships reduced to cosmic dust in mere minutes. Their shields are impenetrable, their weapons tear through our hull plating like tissue paper." "Perhaps," interrupted Dr. Quillnex, the chief scientist from the Cerebral Collective, "we should consider unconventional solutions. My research into the galactic database has revealed something interesting." The floating brain creature pulsed with bioluminescent patterns as it accessed vast stores of information. "Speak, Doctor," urged Council Prime Yargoth, an ancient being whose species had witnessed the rise and fall of countless civilizations. Dr. Quillnex's tentacles danced across a holographic interface, bringing up a three-dimensional map of the galaxy. "In the Outer Rim territories, in a system we've largely ignored due to its primitive development, there exists a species that may prove useful. They call themselves humans, and they inhabit the third planet of a yellow star they've designated as Sol." A collective gasp echoed through the chamber. The Outer Rim was known for its harsh conditions and primitive life forms. Most Council species avoided the region entirely, considering it a galactic backwater. "You suggest we seek aid from primitives?" scoffed Ambassador Veltar of the Advanced Cognitive Union. "Our preliminary scans of that sector show they haven't even achieved faster-than-light travel. They're still confined to their single world, barely having established basic colonies on nearby celestial bodies." Dr. Quillnex's form brightened with excitement. "That's precisely what makes them interesting. According to our long-range anthropological studies, these humans evolved on what we classify as a Class 12 death world." The chamber erupted in shocked whispers. Death worlds were planetary environments so hostile that life rarely evolved beyond basic microbial forms. A Class 12 designation meant the planet was essentially a nightmare realm where survival required constant adaptation to extreme threats. "The data is fascinating," Dr. Quillnex continued, projecting images of Earth onto the central display. "Their planet experiences regular catastrophic events, massive storms that level cities, tectonic shifts that reshape continents, ice ages that last millennia, asteroid impacts, supervolcanic eruptions, and radiation bombardment from solar flares. Yet not only did life survive, it thrived." The images showed sprawling human cities, massive agricultural complexes, and industrial centers that covered continents. More intriguing were the historical records that showed humans had survived countless extinction-level events and emerged stronger each time. "Furthermore," the doctor added, "their biology is remarkable. They possess redundant organ systems, rapid healing capabilities, and immune systems so aggressive they can adapt to virtually any pathogen. But most interesting is their psychological makeup." Ambassador Zixathara leaned forward. "In what way?" They appear to be the only species we've encountered that responds to overwhelming odds, not with surrender or retreat, but with increased aggression and innovation. Our behavioral models suggest that when faced with impossible situations, humans don't accept defeat. They become more dangerous. Commander Thecamol laughed, a sound like grinding metal. You speak of psychological traits as if they could stand against devourer technology. These primitives don't even have energy shields or plasma weapons. No, Dr. Quillnex agreed, but they have something else. Their military history shows a pattern of defeating technologically superior forces through unconventional tactics, adaptability, and sheer stubborn refusal to surrender. They've weaponized everything from their own biology to the laws of physics themselves. The doctor brought up more data, showing human conflicts throughout their history. In their recent past, they fought wars where outnumbered forces held positions against impossible odds, where surrounded armies broke through enemy lines, where individuals armed with primitive weapons destroyed advanced war machines through ingenuity and determination. You're suggesting we recruit mercenaries, observed Counselor Hexandra of the Peaceful Commerce Federation. I'm suggesting we recruit warriors born and bred in hell itself, Dr. Quillnex corrected. Every human alive today is descended from survivors of countless catastrophes. Their entire species has been forged by adversity into something that doesn't know how to quit. Prime Yargoth raised a manipulator appendage for silence. What do we know of their current military capabilities? Primitive by our standards, but ingenious in application. They've developed kinetic weapons that fire projectiles at significant fractions of light speed, nuclear weapons that can crack continental plates, and chemical weapons that can sterilize entire regions. But more importantly, they've shown the ability to rapidly adapt and improve their technology when faced with new threats. The Prime considered this information. The Devourer fleet was 3 systems away from the core worlds. In 2 months, they would reach the capital planet of Centrax Prime. Every conventional military option had been exhausted. What would we offer them in exchange for their assistance? He asked. Technology transfer, suggested Dr. Quillnex. Basic FTL drive systems, energy weapons, shield technology. Nothing that would threaten Council security, but enough to make them effective allies. And if they refuse? Asked Ambassador Zix Thara. Then we're no worse off than we are now, the doctor replied. But our psychological profiles suggest they won't refuse. These humans have a peculiar trait. They seem to enjoy fighting impossible odds, especially when defending others who cannot defend themselves. The debate continued for hours, but as reports came in of the Devourers consuming another star system, the Council's options dwindled. Finally, Prime Yargoth called for a vote. All in favor of attempting to recruit the human species as auxiliary forces in the defense against the Devourer fleet? The vote was unanimous. Fear had overcome prejudice. 3 days later, the fastest ship in the Council fleet, the exploration vessel Harmony's Edge, dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system. Captain Kreenock, a seasoned diplomat from the Neutral Observer Corps, studied the primitive system with growing amazement. Despite their technological limitations, the humans had spread throughout their solar system. Mining operations on asteroids, research stations around gas giants, terraforming projects on neighboring worlds, all accomplished with technology that the Council considered antiquated, yet applied with remarkable efficiency. Captain, reported scanner operator Vizleth, we're receiving numerous communications transmissions from the 3rd planet. They've detected our arrival. Of course they have, Captain Kreenock mused. Any species that survived this long would have developed excellent early warning systems. Open a communication channel. What happened next surprised everyone on the bridge. Instead of panic or confusion, the human response was immediate and organized. Military vessels launched from hidden bases, Defensive satellites powered up weapons systems, and communication arrays focused on the alien ship with startling precision. "This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the United Earth Space Command," came a voice over the communicator. "You have entered human-controlled space. Identify yourself and state your intentions." Captain Kreenock was impressed by the calm authority in the human's voice. No fear, no pleading, just direct challenge. "I am Captain Kreenock of the Galactic Council vessel, Harmony's Edge. We come seeking an alliance against a common threat." There was a pause. "Stand by for escort to lunar station coordinates we're transmitting now. Any deviation from the prescribed course will be considered hostile action." The escort that arrived was a squadron of sleek fighter craft that, while primitive, moved with deadly precision. Captain Kreenock noted their weapons were trained on his ship throughout the journey to the space station orbiting Earth's moon. The space station itself was a marvel of practical engineering. Built from processed asteroid materials and powered by fusion reactors, it served as both a diplomatic facility and a fortress. When Captain Kreenock and his small diplomatic team were brought aboard, they found themselves in a chamber designed to accommodate multiple alien physiologies. The humans had clearly been expecting this day. Admiral Chen was a compact woman with graying hair and scars that spoke of combat experience. She was accompanied by General Martinez, Dr. Sarah Kim from the Scientific Council, and Director James Walsh of Intelligence Operations. All of them carried themselves with the confident bearing of individuals who had faced impossible odds before. "Captain Kreenock," Admiral Chen said without preamble, "our deep space sensors have been tracking massive energy signatures moving through nearby systems. We've detected the complete annihilation of several star systems, including the destruction of their primary stars. I assume this is related to your visit." The directness caught Captain Kreenock off guard. "You've been monitoring our region of space?" "We've been monitoring everything," Director Walsh said quietly. "We know there are advanced civilizations in this galaxy. We know some of them have been watching us. We've been preparing for this contact for decades." Dr. Kim leaned forward. "Our calculations suggest whatever is destroying those star systems will reach our region of space within 72 days. We also calculate that any force capable of stellar destruction represents a threat we cannot face alone with current technology." General Martinez added, "So the question is, what kind of help are you offering? And what do you want in return?" Captain Kreenock found himself in the unusual position of being interviewed rather than conducting the interview. These humans approached first contact not as supplicants begging for protection, but as potential allies evaluating a business proposition. The Galactic Council offers technological assistance, faster-than-light travel, advanced weapons, defensive systems, in exchange for military support against the Devourer fleet. "Show us what we're facing," Admiral Chen demanded. Captain Kreenock activated a holographic display showing the Devourer ships. The humans studied the images with professional interest, asking technical questions about weapon capabilities, shield strength, tactical patterns, and fleet composition. Their questions were intelligent and demonstrated a sophisticated understanding of space warfare despite their primitive technology. "How many ships?" asked General Martinez. "Approximately 2,000 vessels, ranging from destroyer class to their command ships, which are the size of small moons." Dr. Kim whistled softly. "And your combined fleet couldn't handle them?" "We lost over 800 ships in our last engagement. Their technology is superior to ours in every measurable way." Director Walsh exchanged glances with Admiral Chen. "How much time do we have to prepare?" "If you agree to the alliance, we can begin technology transfer immediately. Basic FTL systems can be installed on your existing ships within 30 days. Admiral Chen stood and walked to a viewing port overlooking Earth. The blue and green world spun peacefully below, unaware that its fate was being decided in the cold vacuum above. "Captain," she said finally, You need to understand something about humans. We've never had the luxury of backing down from a fight. Our planet has tried to kill us with ice ages, supervolcanoes, asteroid strikes, plague, and natural disasters we don't even have names for. We're still here because we learned one lesson very well. When something tries to wipe you out, you hit back twice as hard. She turned back to face the alien captain. We accept your alliance, but we do this our way. You give us the technology, we'll show you how Deathworlders fight. Captain Kreenock felt a chill run through his exoskeleton. Something in the human's voice suggested the Devourer fleet had no idea what they were about to face. The die was cast. Humanity was going to war among the stars. The Deathworlders, prepare for war. The transformation of human military capabilities happened faster than anyone in the Galactic Council had thought possible. Within 2 weeks of the initial agreement, human engineers were reverse engineering alien technology with a speed that bordered on frightening. Dr. Sarah Kim stood in the massive underground facility carved into the lunar surface, watching teams of human technicians work alongside alien advisors. The humans are adapting our technology in ways we never considered, admitted Engineer Prime Syl Thresh of the Technical Consortium. The insectoid aliens' compound eyes tracked multiple work teams simultaneously. They're not simply copying our designs, they're improving them. Dr. Kim smiled grimly. That's what we do. We've never had the luxury of perfect technology, so we learn to make everything better, faster, and more reliable under pressure. Across the chamber, teams were installing hybrid FTL drives into human warships. The ships themselves were unlike anything the Galactic Council had seen. Utilitarian, over-engineered, and built with redundant systems that could function even after taking massive damage. Where alien ships prioritized elegance and efficiency, human ships were designed for brutal survival. The UES Indomitable, Admiral Chen's flagship, was a perfect example. Originally designed as a deep space exploration vessel, it had been retrofitted for war. Its hull was composed of layered armor designed to absorb and distribute kinetic impacts. Its weapon systems included railguns that could accelerate projectiles to 30% light speed, missile launchers loaded with nuclear warheads, and something the aliens found disturbing, close-range cutting tools designed for ship-to-ship boarding actions. "Admiral," reported Commander Torres, the ship's chief engineer, "the alien shield generators are integrated and online, but we've made some modifications." Admiral Chen raised an eyebrow. "What kind of modifications?" "Standard alien shields are designed to deflect energy weapons and small projectiles. We've reconfigured them to create overlapping fields that can trap enemy ships in electromagnetic nets. Think of them as containment fields that can hold a target while our kinetic weapons punch through their defenses." Captain Kreenock, who had remained as a liaison officer, felt his mandibles click nervously. "That's not what those systems were designed for." Commander Torres grinned. "No, sir, but that's what they're good for now." The innovation wasn't limited to space vessels. Human ground forces were being equipped with alien personal shields and energy weapons, but they were keeping their kinetic weapons as primary armaments. The aliens didn't understand why until General Martinez explained during a strategy briefing. "Energy weapons are excellent," he told the assembled alien advisors, "but they require power sources. They can be countered by electromagnetic interference, and they're limited by heat buildup. A railgun rifle doesn't care about energy dampeners or EM fields. Physics is physics, and a tungsten core moving at 5,000 meters per second will punch through almost anything." Dr. Quillnex observed the preparations with growing excitement and terror. "They're not just learning our technology, they're weaponizing everything. I've watched them turn medical scanners into targeting systems, communication arrays into jamming devices, and environmental suits into personal armor." What truly amazed the alien observers was how quickly human society mobilized for total war. Within days of the announcement that Earth faced an alien threat, the planet's entire industrial capacity shifted to military production. Factories that made consumer electronics began producing sensor arrays. Automotive plants started building armored vehicles. Even entertainment companies contributed, using their special effects expertise to develop holographic camouflage systems. Director Walsh coordinated the intelligence-gathering effort from a command center buried beneath the Rocky Mountains. Banks of quantum computers, upgraded with alien processing technology, analyzed every scrap of data about the Devourer fleet. Pattern analysis shows the Devourers follow a consistent attack methodology, he briefed Admiral Chen and the alien advisors. They enter a system, destroy all mobile defenses, then systematically consume planets starting with the most resource-rich. They're efficient, methodical, and apparently unstoppable. That's been our experience, confirmed Commander Thekmol, who had been assigned as military advisor to the human forces. They adapt to our tactics within hours of encountering them. Their learning algorithms seem to be faster than our ability to innovate. Director Walsh smiled coldly. Then we won't give them time to adapt. The human strategy was unlike anything the Galactic Council had attempted. Instead of meeting the Devourer fleet in traditional space battles, the humans planned to use their new FTL capabilities for hit-and-run attacks, sabotage missions, and what they called asymmetric warfare. We studied the tactical data from your previous engagements, explained Admiral Chen during a joint planning session. The Devourers expect conventional fleet actions. Ships forming battle lines, exchanging fire at long range, victory going to whoever has superior technology. We're not going to fight that war. Captain Kreenock studied the human battle plans with growing confusion. I don't understand these tactical symbols. What is a suicide run? Lieutenant Colonel Jackson, a Special Forces officer with more scars than smooth skin, answered that question. It's when you know you're not coming back, but you make sure you take as many of the enemy with you as possible. The alien captain's translator struggled with the concept. Your military strategy includes deliberately sacrificing your own forces? When necessary, Admiral Chen said matter-of-factly. We've learned that sometimes the only way to win is to be willing to pay a price the enemy won't pay. The first human strike force launched exactly 30 days after the initial agreement. 50 ships, ranging from destroyers to the massive dreadnought Indomitable, dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kepler 442 system where the Devourer fleet was consuming the remains of a Galactic Council colony. The Devourer response was immediate and overwhelming. 200 alien ships moved to intercept the human fleet, their weapon systems charging for what should have been a brief and decisive engagement. Instead, the humans did something unprecedented. They scattered. Rather than forming a battle line, each human ship began moving independently, using their superior knowledge of physics and three-dimensional tactics to create a chaotic battlefield that the Devourers couldn't predict or counter. Ships dove toward the system's star, using solar gravity to slingshot around and attack from unexpected angles. Others hid in asteroid fields, using the debris as cover while launching guided missiles. The UES Perseverance, a heavy cruiser under the command of Captain Maria Santos, demonstrated human tactical thinking at its most creative. When confronted by 3 Devourer ships, she ordered her crew to shut down all non-essential systems and drift like debris. When the enemy ships moved past her position, the Perseverance suddenly came alive, launching every missile in her arsenal at point-blank range. 2 Devourer ships were destroyed instantly. The third began to adapt its defensive algorithms, but Captain Santos was already executing the second part of her plan. The Perseverance rammed the enemy vessel, her reinforced bow cutting deep into the alien ship's hull before detonating her own fusion reactor. The nuclear explosion vaporized both ships, but the tactical data was transmitted back to the human fleet in real time. Across the battlefield, human commanders applied the lesson immediately. Instead of trying to outfight superior technology, they made every ship a potential weapon, every engagement a learning opportunity, and every loss a tactical advantage for the ships that followed. Commander Thekmol watched the battle from the bridge of the Indomitable, his forearms trembling with something between admiration and horror. They're not trying to win individual engagements, they're trying to learn how to kill devourers. Admiral Chen nodded grimly. Every ship we lose teaches us something new about their weaknesses. Every death saves 1,000 lives later. The first engagement lasted 6 hours. When it was over, 37 human ships had been destroyed, but they had eliminated 48 Devourer vessels and gathered complete tactical data on Devourer technology, response patterns, and defensive capabilities. More importantly, they had proven that the Devourers could be killed. The data from the Kepler 442 engagement was transmitted across human space within hours. Engineers, tacticians, and scientists analyzed every second of combat footage. Within days, new weapon systems were in production, new tactics were being drilled, and new ship designs were being rushed from the drawing boards to the construction yards. Dr. Kim led a team of xenobiologists who made a disturbing discovery while studying Devourer wreckage. "They're not entirely mechanical," she reported to the command staff. "There are organic components integrated into their technology, neural networks that appear to be living tissue." Director Walsh leaned forward. "You're saying they're cyborgs?" "More than that. I think they're a hybrid species, part biological, part artificial. The organic components handle adaptation and learning, while the mechanical systems provide raw power and processing capability." Admiral Chen saw the implications immediately. If they're partly biological, they can be killed like any living thing. They need resources, they have limitations, and they can be poisoned, diseased, or starved. The biological components also explain their adaptation speed, Dr. Kim continued. They're not just running programs, they're evolving in real time, developing immunities to our tactics the same way a virus develops resistance to antibiotics. "Then we need to evolve faster," General Martinez said firmly. "It's natural selection on a galactic scale." The second wave of human attacks began 3 days later. This time, they targeted Devourer supply lines and support vessels, using intelligence gathered from the first engagement to identify vulnerable targets. Human ships armed with biological weapons began introducing viral agents into Devourer systems, causing cascade failures in their hybrid technology. The results exceeded all expectations. Devourer adaptation protocols, designed to counter technological threats, had no defense against biological warfare. Entire ships began shutting down as their organic components succumbed to engineered pathogens. But the Devourers learned from this attack as well. When the third human strike force arrived, they found the enemy had developed countermeasures against biological weapons and had begun using adaptive protocols that could evolve faster than human tactical innovations. The war was becoming an evolutionary arms race, with both sides rapidly developing new capabilities in response to enemy adaptations. But humans had one advantage the Devourers couldn't match. They were fighting for survival, and survivors never stop adapting. As reports came in from the latest engagements, Captain Kreenock realized that the Galactic Council had made a profound mistake in their assessment of humanity. They weren't recruiting primitive allies to serve as cannon fodder against a superior enemy. They had unleashed apex predators who saw the Devourer fleet not as an unstoppable force, but as the ultimate hunting challenge. The war was about to reach a level of savagery that the galaxy had never seen. Total destruction. The final gambit. The war had been raging for 47 days when Admiral Chen received the intelligence report that changed everything. Director Walsh stood in the command center aboard the Indomitable, his face grim as he delivered news that made the blood run cold in every human present. "The Devourer fleet has stopped advancing. he announced to the assembled command staff. They've established a perimeter around the Centauri system and appear to be constructing something. Dr. Kim pulled up the long-range sensor data on the main display. The images showed massive Devourer vessels arranged in a complex geometric pattern around Alpha Centauri, with streams of energy flowing between them in an intricate web of power conduits. "The energy readings are off the charts," she reported. "They're drawing power directly from the star itself, channeling it into some kind of massive construction project." Captain Kreenock, who had become increasingly integrated into the human command structure, clicked his mandibles in distress. "This pattern is familiar. According to our historical databases, the Devourers have used similar formations before, always just before sterilizing an entire sector of space." Admiral Chen felt ice form in her stomach. "How large a sector?" "Approximately 50 light-years in all directions," the alien captain replied quietly. "They appear to be building a weapon capable of igniting a chain reaction that will turn every star in the region into a supernova." The command center fell silent. 50 light-years would encompass not just human space, but dozens of galactic council worlds and billions of innocent lives. "How long until it's operational?" Admiral Chen asked. Dr. Kim ran calculations on her upgraded quantum computer. "Based on the rate of energy accumulation and the size of the construct, we estimate 72 hours. 3 days to prevent the annihilation of an entire region of the galaxy. It seemed impossible, but humans had built their entire civilization on the principle that impossible just meant no one had figured out how to do it yet." General Martinez leaned over the tactical display. "What would it take to stop them?" "Complete destruction of the primary construction nodes," Dr. Kim replied. "But they're protected by the entire Devourer fleet, over 1,500 ships arranged in defensive layers around the construction site." Director Walsh had been studying intelligence reports during the briefing. "There's something else. Our deep cover reconnaissance drones have detected that the Devourers are using captured Galactic Council citizens as living components in their construction. Thousands of beings from dozens of species are being integrated into the weapon system itself." The implications were staggering. Any attack that destroyed the weapon would also kill thousands of innocent captives. Admiral Chen stood silently for long minutes, staring at the tactical display. Every human in the command center knew that look. It was the expression their species wore when facing impossible odds and refusing to accept defeat. "Options," she said simply. Lieutenant Colonel Jackson spoke first. "Direct assault is suicide. Even if we committed every ship we have, we couldn't punch through their defenses." Commander Torres added, "The weapon is drawing power from the star itself. If we could disrupt that connection, the whole system would collapse." "How do you disrupt a star?" asked Captain Kreenock. Dr. Kim's eyes suddenly widened as a terrible idea began to form. "You don't disrupt the star. You make it do something the Devourers aren't expecting." She began calling up stellar engineering data that humanity had developed during their early experiments with solar power collection. Alpha Centauri is a stable star, but like all stars, it's essentially a controlled fusion reaction held in check by gravitational forces. If you could introduce the right kind of instability at the core... Admiral Chen saw where she was going. "You're talking about making the star go nova." "Not exactly. A controlled solar flare, something that would release a massive pulse of energy and radiation that would overload the Devourer systems without destroying the star completely." Director Walsh ran threat assessments through his tactical computers. "The radiation pulse would be lethal to anyone within 2 AU of the star. That includes the captives." The command center fell silent again as the horrible reality sank in. To save billions, they would have to sacrifice thousands. Admiral Chen closed her eyes for a moment, feeling the weight of command that every human military leader had carried since the first tribal chieftain led warriors into battle. When she opened them again, her voice was steady and determined. "How do we do it?" Dr. Kim outlined the plan with the cold precision of someone who had calculated the deaths of thousands and accepted the burden. We need to deliver a cascade of exotic matter directly into the star's core. The reaction would destabilize the fusion process just enough to trigger a massive coronal mass ejection. "What kind of exotic matter?" asked Commander Torres. "The kind we've been harvesting from Devourer Rex," Dr. Kim replied. "Their hybrid technology uses quantum-entangled particles that exist in multiple dimensional states simultaneously. If we could introduce enough of those particles into the stellar core, they would create a feedback loop that would make the star hiccup." General Martinez studied the tactical requirements. "How do we get past 1,500 enemy ships to deliver a weapon into the core of a star?" Admiral Chen looked around the command center at the faces of humans who had volunteered to fight an impossible war for people they had never met. "We don't get past them. We go through them." The plan that emerged from the next 18 hours of continuous planning was audacious even by human standards. The entire remaining human fleet, 312 ships carrying over 2 million personnel, would conduct a massive frontal assault on the Devourer fleet while a single ship attempted to reach the star's core. That ship would be the Indomitable herself, loaded with every piece of exotic matter humanity had salvaged from the war, along with the most advanced alien technology available. The ship would dive directly into Alpha Centauri's corona, penetrate to the stellar core, and detonate its payload in a controlled explosion that would trigger the solar flare. It was a suicide mission with no possibility of survival, and Admiral Chen would lead it personally. Captain Kreenock protested vehemently. "This is madness. No ship can survive entry into a star's core. The temperatures and pressures would vaporize any known material." "Known material, yes," agreed Dr. Kim. "But we've been working on something new." She led them to a fabrication bay where human engineers had been working around the clock on the most ambitious project in their species' history. The Indomitable was being rebuilt from the inside out, her hull replaced with a composite of alien shield generators, human armor plating, and Devourer technology stripped from captured vessels. "The hull is now a multi-layered system," explained Chief Engineer Williams. "Alien energy shields deflect radiation, human armor absorbs kinetic impacts, and Devourer adaptive plating adjusts to environmental conditions in real time. The ship can survive approximately 17 minutes in the stellar core before structural failure." "How long do you need to deliver the payload?" Admiral Chen asked. 14 minutes to reach optimal detonation depth, 30 seconds to deploy the exotic matter array, and immediate detonation," Dr. Kim replied. "That leaves us 2.5 minutes of safety margin," Admiral Chen said with grim satisfaction. "I've worked with worse odds." The final preparations took place in an atmosphere of controlled chaos. Every human in the fleet knew they were likely going to die, but none of them showed any sign of backing down. This was what their species had always done when faced with annihilation. They struck back with everything they had. The Galactic Council representatives tried one last time to talk the humans out of their plan. Ambassador Zixathara contacted Admiral Chen directly, her crystalline form shimmering with desperate energy. "Admiral, this sacrifice is unnecessary. We can evacuate the threatened systems, relocate the populations to safer regions of the galaxy." Admiral Chen's response was broadcast to the entire human fleet. "Ambassador, with respect, you don't understand what you're asking. You want us to run away and let evil win because fighting back is too dangerous. That's not who we are. Humans don't abandon others to monsters just because the odds are bad." She paused, looking around the bridge at her crew, people who had volunteered to fly into a star to save strangers from across the galaxy. "We're Deathworlders, Ambassador. We've been fighting impossible odds since our species learned to make fire. Today is no different." The final assault began at 0600 hours, Galactic Standard Time. 311 human ships dropped out of hyperspace in attack formation, their weapons already charged and targeting systems locked onto the Devourer fleet. The battle that followed was unlike anything in galactic history. Human ships fought with the desperation of a cornered predator, using every dirty trick, unconventional tactic, and sacrificial gambit they had learned over 47 days of continuous warfare. Ships rammed enemy vessels when their weapons ran out of ammunition. Crews detonated their own reactors when surrounded. Entire squadrons dove into enemy formations with the sole purpose of creating gaps that other ships could exploit. The Devourers adapted to each new tactic, but humans adapted faster. When energy weapons became ineffective, they used kinetic kills. When shields blocked projectiles, they used nuclear mines. When the enemy learned to counter their explosives, they turned their own ships into guided missiles. The Indomitable began her final run during the height of the battle, diving toward Alpha Centauri while her escorts held off pursuing Devourer ships. One by one, the escort vessels fell behind, sacrificing themselves to buy the flagship precious seconds. As the Indomitable entered the star's outer corona, the temperature readings began climbing beyond anything the human crew had ever experienced. The upgraded hull held, but barely. Radiation alarms screamed throughout the ship as they plunged deeper into the stellar environment. "Hull temperature at 4,000 degrees and rising," reported Commander Torres, his voice steady despite the fact that he was about to die. "Shield generators are holding, but we're getting plasma penetration on decks 7 through 12. Admiral Chen felt the ship shudder around her as they dove deeper into the star. The view screen showed nothing but blazing white light as they penetrated further into the stellar core than any ship had ever ventured. 14 minutes to optimal depth, Dr. Kim announced. All systems are still functional. The Devourer fleet tried to pursue them, but their ships couldn't match the Indomitable's modified heat resistance. They could only watch as the human vessel disappeared into the star's nuclear fire. At 13 minutes and 47 seconds, they reached the calculated detonation point. The stellar core surrounded them with pressures and temperatures that could crush planets, but the ship held together through human engineering and alien technology, working in impossible harmony. "Deploying exotic matter array," Dr. Kim announced. The ship's cargo bays opened, releasing thousands of quantum-entangled particles directly into the star's fusion reaction. The effect was immediate and catastrophic. The exotic matter began interacting with the stellar core, creating cascade reactions that propagated through the star's entire structure. What had been a stable fusion reaction for billions of years suddenly became wildly unstable. "Stellar flare building," Dr. Kim reported, her voice filled with awe and terror. "Magnitude exceeds all our projections. This is going to be bigger than we thought." Admiral Chen opened a communication channel to the human fleet. "All ships, this is Admiral Chen. Flare detonation in 30 seconds. It's been an honor serving with all of you." The solar flare that erupted from Alpha Centauri was visible from hundreds of light years away. The star released more energy in a single burst than it normally produced in 1,000 years, creating a wave of radiation and charged particles that swept through the system at the speed of light. The Devourer fleet, with all their adaptive technology and superior shields, had no defense against the raw power of a star in fury. Their ships were vaporized instantly, their construction project destroyed in a blast that lit up the entire sector. The wave of destruction spread outward, sterilizing everything within 3 astronomical units of the star. The thousands of captives used in the Devourer weapon died instantly, along with Admiral Chen and the crew of the Indomitable. But the explosion also created something unexpected. The exotic matter particles, dispersed throughout the stellar flare, created a quantum resonance that propagated faster than light through dimensional space. Every Devourer ship in the galaxy, connected to each other through quantum entanglement, experienced simultaneous system failures. The entire Devourer civilization, which had terrorized the galaxy for millennia, was destroyed in a single moment by the dying explosion of one star and the sacrifice of one ship's crew. In the aftermath, as rescue ships arrived to evacuate survivors from the human fleet, Captain Kreenock stood in the command center of a Galactic Council vessel, staring at the sensor readings that showed the complete annihilation of the Devourer threat. "I don't understand," he said to Dr. Quillnex. "How did they know the quantum resonance would propagate to the entire Devourer network?" The Cerebral Collective's representative pulsed with subdued bioluminescence. "They didn't. The exotic matter cascade was designed to trigger a solar flare. The quantum resonance that destroyed the rest of the Devourer fleet was an unplanned side effect. Then they died for nothing. The flare alone would have been sufficient to destroy the local fleet." "No," Dr. Quillnex corrected quietly. "They died as humans always die, doing what they believed was right, regardless of the personal cost. The galaxy is free because a single species of Deathworlders refused to surrender when any rational being would have accepted defeat. The final casualty reports showed that humanity had lost 97% of their space fleet and over 2 million personnel. But they had saved the galaxy, destroyed an enemy that had seemed unstoppable, and proven that sometimes the only way to win against impossible odds is to be willing to pay any price for victory. The Galactic Council would remember this day as the moment they learned what it truly meant to be apex predators in a universe that had tried for billions of years to kill them. Humanity had not just survived their death world, they had learned from it. They had learned that when everything is trying to kill you, the only response is to become something even more dangerous in return. The war was over. The Deathworlders had delivered total destruction, and the galaxy would never be the same.